What's up troops, it's me TheTacticalBrit, and today I'm here with Squad version 10. Now this is an early access preview of this update that's been available to the public, and this is pretty huge. You guys may have noticed that I haven't really played Squad quite recently, just down to the fact that I kind of wasn't enjoying the game as much as I used to. It was really quite difficult for me to, appreciate the game due to some of the small bugs here and there and some of the issues that it had. But all of this has changed in version 10. This is arguably the biggest and best update the game has had yet. It overhauls more or less everything you know about the game and makes it so much superior to what it previously was. And in today's video, I'm going to go over some of the new stuff you can see in Squad v10. This includes some new weapons, some new vehicles, but more importantly, the new animation system and what that means for you. So let's kick it off with the animation system. This is massively important. This includes things such as vaulting, being able to, prone and lean. There's just a lot to go through here, so let's hit it off with. You may notice at the moment my gun is actually pointing downwards. This is something that happens when you're not actively aiming at something now in the new animation system. If you're just passively walking around with no clear aiming and no clear target, your character model will actually place the gun downward to give you a better view. Now, speaking of better views, one of the biggest new features available in Squad v10 is something we have all wanted for a while now. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is free looking, and my god is it glorious. Being able to press Alt and look around is fantastic. It's great for tactical advantages. You can even do this whilst aiming down sight. You can look away from your sight, you can look around, and you can even look at some of these bullet casings as they fly away. It's really awesome, and I'm so glad it's finally in the game. It's going to make a huge difference, especially when you're in firefights and things like that, to be able to look around at your surroundings, look around at what's going on. In my opinion, that's probably one of the biggest upgrades that they've made to the game to date. We knew it was coming, but it's finally here, and it's awesome. The only downside at the moment in this current preview is that it does look a bit weird because your shoulders seem to stay very still. Everything else does move though, which is quite cool. Now, back onto the old animation update, you'll probably notice something about the iron sights and the way the gun actually looks itself. It actually moves around a little more than it used to, and it looks a bit different as well. So if I start firing down this range randomly, you'll see that the gun kicks up a bit differently to what it used to. In the old animation system, there wasn't really that much of a visual kick to it. However, now there's more of a very obvious sway to the weapon. Things are kicking up a bit more, and it makes for a much more realistic and wholesome experience when firing down the weapons. And it kind of just looks a lot better. Previously, your gun just looked very still and very passive. Now it actually looks pretty damn good. We have some new reload animations, I believe, as well, as you probably just saw. So what else is new other than the animation system, which makes your character look kind of weird when he's moving about, but it's a nice weird. It looks it's a visually pleasing weird. There's now new animations for going prone, so as you can see here, if I just quickly go stand up and then go prone, your character actually takes a second to lay down. He puts his knee on the ground, then he puts his hand on the ground, and obviously players around you will be able to see this transition in animation. Other new things include, with the animation system, vaulting. This is something people have wanted for a while now. You run up to a wall, and it's as simple as pressing a button. You can even do this with slightly higher walls that aren't completely out of your range. So if I were to look at something that was perhaps around about the size of this, I could probably, there you go, I can vault over it. That's probably more handy towards actual walls themselves, but you get the gist of it. There's able to vault over small things and big things, and it makes for a much better experience than having to spam the jump button and hope for the best. You can actually pull off a successful vault. However, I should point out to you that when you do this, your gun will become increasingly inaccurate, so don't try and vault and then pull the trigger, because it just probably won't go your way. Now, let's have a quick look at some of the other new features in the game which are kind of combined in with the animation system, and for this I'm going to need a new kit, and that is going to be this bad boy machine gun. Something people have wanted in the game for ages now is the ability to bipod, and my god is it finally here. You can hit targets accurately now with machine guns by bipoding them onto more or less wherever you fancy. And what makes it really great at the moment is that these things are super accurate. You can hit things at distance. You can see that target there in the distance has gone down. That one there will drop as well. And it allows you to be a really useful support gunner. They have more or less a decent amount of accuracy and range on them, especially when bipoded up. And you can hit things from distance, but ultimately what it allows you to do is, rather than being an absolute killing machine, it allows you to lay down suppressive fire on targets or groups of targets, which makes you incredibly useful. You can pop a bullet or two into them at 200-300 meters away as well. It's fantastic. But the only downside to this, of course, is as you're standing up, this thing's an absolute monster to try and control in terms of recoil, so you're probably going to have to tap fire it if you want any kind of success with an LMG. But you can now more or less bipod on anything that's in your range. You can lay down and bipod, you can bipod on top of sandbags or, you know, any other wall around you, and it just makes for a really good experience. It makes the machine gunning class incredibly useful. And as you can see, there's a bit of a glitch here with the hand, but, you know, this is a preview. You can kind of expect that kind of stuff with the animations. I think this even has a little bit of a splash damage to it, in a way. You can kind of see there's almost like a weird explosive feel to it. But I think that's because it just is how it is. Anyways, moving onwards to the old animation system, let's have a look at one of the other classes that significantly changed, and that is the Grenadier class. Now, I have no guarantees that this is going to work properly, so bear with me, because this is, like I say, a preview. In fact, as we are speaking, I have managed to break something, which is fantastic. I've managed... Wait, there we go. I've got it out of it. There we go. Sweet. Right, so after briefly breaking that and receiving a text message on my phone, as you do, mid-video, classy as usual, Lachlan, what we're going to do now is have a look at something else that's changed, and that is zeroing. You may see in the bottom right corner there that we actually have a 50-meter symbol, and the reason for that is that you can actually zero your weapons. Now, I'm briefly going to have to switch team to really show this to you in full effect, because I don't think it's quite working on the US weapons at the moment, but it will eventually work for everything. Now, what this allows you to do with almost every weapon, more importantly with sniper rifles and grenade launchers, is have a zeroing range. And when you have a zeroing range, it's pretty badass. It allows you to... I can only really show you what this does. There's no real way to explain just how cool this is and how cool it will be. So let me just whip out this bad boy, aim down sight, and the zeroing button is actually X. So if you hit X, you have the ability to scroll upwards and down. As you can see, I've got 200, 300, 200 high. So I can effectively aim at 200 meters now with this in a very effective manner. So that should roughly hit the 200 meter mark in the distance there. As you can see, it's splash damage just behind those targets. You can continue holding your zeroing button and push this up to 300 meters. So if I aim my iron sight at a 300 meter marker, which is somewhere around about the back over there, I should be able to see a successful splash damage on that target somewhere in the distance. And you can see it just fell a little bit short, but it's all a learning curve, and eventually you should be able to, if you master the grenade launcher, engage at anything at any distance. This includes all the way up to 500 meters, but my favorite personal one is the high. You could effectively... Let's have a look at this. If we got something that's 200 meters in front of us, so that's roughly that car out, as you can see under the iron sight. And I'm just going to fire this thing. I'm just going to hold it upwards in the air and fire it. And effectively, the grenade launcher here becomes, in a sense, a mortar. The shells fly straight up into the air with the new zeroing distance that I've entered. And they will probably splash down in probably a few seconds. It will take a while for those things to come up and down. As you can see, one of them just hit the ground there. You'll probably see another a few seconds delayed after that. There we go. And that's more or less how that works, which is pretty cool. So zeroing will work on all weapons, more or less, eventually. And it's going to be really useful, especially if you're a sniper rifle, especially if you're, you know, just anything that requires zeroing range, such as a grenade launcher. Another thing worth mentioning, actually, is there are some new LMGs. I forgot to show you the PKM. So this is a new LMG that's entered the game as part of one of the factions. It's pretty beastly. It's another bipodable LMG, and again, it's one of those guns you don't really want to fire when standing up or anything, because you can see the kick on this thing is absolutely ridiculous. So, not something I would recommend. Now, another cool addition I want to show you is actually on the US side of things. So we're going to spawn in over here, and this is actually... probably, in my opinion, the best thing that's happened to Squad. Now, I know people have complained about the fact that the sniper rifles in Squad just really aren't that great. And this is all changing now because, my god, I mean, you just need to look at it. You'll understand once you see this thing, right? So this is the SAS sniper rifle that we're used to, but they've redefined how the sights look, and my goodness is it gorgeous. it's so good. That's such a clean sight. It's great to look through. You can move around with free look. It does blur your vision though, seeing as you're aiming down a scope, or you can just sort of free look around as well. But it's a very good looking scope. It's a very good looking sniper. It sounds fantastic, as you can hear as well. And this is also another weapon that you will be able to zero. At the moment, I don't believe the zeroing is working properly. But oh no, it is in the test range. It wasn't previously online, but let's see if we can hit something that's 400 meters away with this. No guarantees. I'm not that great with sniper rifles. There we go. That target's fell. We can see if we can try something at 500 meters here. And that dropped too. Wow, it's very accurate for a weapon of this variety. Actually, I'm not sure that did drop. Did that drop? Let's try. Oh, that fell a little bit short. So yeah, you get the idea. Up to 1,000 meters. You can have up to an 1,000 meter range on this sniper rifle, which I think is super badass. Snipers in the game deserve to be something that is a skill, and if you can learn your distances, if you can learn that something is 100, 200, 300 meters away, as many veteran players in the game have by now, and then be able to zero that target and successfully pull off a shot on either a still or moving target, snipers in the game are about to become incredibly cool and incredibly useful. Now, another new thing as well is the M240B. I forgot to show you guys this. There's the M249 Pip, but there's also the M240B. This is another new LMG that's come into the game. It's pretty badass. I mean, you get the gist. It sounds awesome. Another cool thing as well, actually, I forgot to mention, is that you can actually watch the tracers with the LMGs when they're bipoded without really having to I mean, obviously, ADS is more accurate, but if you want to have a good gist of where your tracers are landing in comparison to targets, especially those in the distance, you can actually just free fire the LMG without ADSing whilst it's bipoded. That will give you a good approximation for where you're hitting. And, you know, if it's something that's far in the distance on a hill, maybe, and you're trying to figure out whether your bullets are falling short, you can kind of adjust for that by, you know, looking around with what you've got on. And that's pretty cool, too. So we're moving into the final things that this has. And I'm just going to go back to a sort of basic rifleman for this. And there's a few vehicles I want to show you, but also one last thing I forgot to mention, actually, is the ability to lean whilst prone now. So you will be able to go up to objects, lay down, and actually lean round corners, which is pretty cool in my opinion. Like, having that ability is really helpful, especially if you're caught in a firefight that you need to sort of look around objects like trees or rocks and stay in cover. Being able to do that prone now is especially quite handy. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention as well is over here, and it's the new vehicle. Well, I say new vehicle. There's lots of vehicles. Some of them you probably haven't seen before, but there's a new specific weapon on some of these vehicles, as you're probably starting to learn here, and that is the anti-aircraft cannon. Now, as you can see, it's available in multiple different factions. We've got a slightly more, should we say, ghetto version of a more effective version there. It's also available as an emplacement as well if you're a squad leader. And this is going to become in handy, especially when we start seeing things like helicopters enter the game. So I'm just going to drive this thing out and let you guys see roughly how this thing works. I'm going to see if I can find us... I'll tell you what, I'll just take us onto the shooting range. We'll go onto the shooting range, and I'll use the anti-aircraft gun on the shooting range, because at the moment it is intended for infantry-based targets. It does do the job, but later on, as we see in the game's life cycle, when helicopters become a thing, you'll be able to see that this is effectively going to be the anti-aircraft cannon for the helicopters. So another thing I want to mention as well, actually, is worth doing. You actually have to hold F now to enter and exit vehicles, and this also applies to switching seats. You can't just, like, tap it and disappear. You actually have to hold down for a reasonable amount of time. So here we have the anti-aircraft cannon, and the sound on this thing is pretty intense if you want to take a listen. It's a very beastly sounding weapon. Obviously it has splash explosive damage, it can hit targets. And this is the kind of thing that will eventually be able to be used on helicopters that are all the way up in the sky. You take aim, you can see the tracers are very visible. So as you can imagine, when you're taking on a helicopter or engaging a helicopter at distance, you know, this is something that you can use to just absolutely decimate them with. It does, of course, work on vehicles as well as it presently stands. It has that ability to have splash damage on vehicles too, and it's pretty badass in that sense. Another thing I wanted to mention as well is actually that the whole new animation overhaul is kind of making the game a lot more pristine. This is something I haven't really gone through yet, but you need to understand all of the animations you're seeing here, through weapons swaying, guns being pointed down at the ground, through dropping onto the floor, like you've got this little like new how can I describe it? Like, if I jump off of this, you can kind of hear the impact and you can kind of shake a little bit. The new leaning system, the new crouch and prone animations, all of that is visible to everyone. So everybody's character models are looking a lot cleaner now. Everybody actually, you know, on the sort of battlefield, so to speak, actually looks like a real soldier. It's so much better than what it previously was. So that's more or less everything I can think of at the moment. We've got, you know, the new animation overhaul, including bipodding, including prone and lean, including, you know, just the general movement of your weapons. And yeah, we've got the new weapons, the new sniper rifles, the new zeroing. Everything is really coming along here on Squad. I'm really impressed with it. And you're going to see a lot more videos. In fact, I have 3 recorded videos already as it presently stands for this game, just purely off the back of v10. So guys, that's it from me, the Tactical Brit, today. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you again in the next video.